Good evening, citizens. I am Agent Nerd, and welcome to the Trust Your Government segment, where the government is always telling the truth. I would like to welcome two conspiracy theorists who believe in things that are not plausible. Your government is telling the truth, people. Do not believe in aliens. Aliens are a hoax. Gentlemen, go ahead and introduce yourself. What is it that you do and believe in? There is nothing at Roswell.
We can't talk about that.
Well, I'm Damian Gray, and this is Ralph Torlucci, and we co-host a show on YouTube called Black Lotus Productions. And what we do there is we talk about everything
Spread lies. You spread
lies
against your government, who deserves to be trusted.
Yeah. But we talk about everything from conspiracy theories to UFOs to aliens to pretty much anything that's weird and unusual.
Right.
We started off as a different podcast kind of video cast entirely, and we called ourselves Pop Views, and we talked about pop culture, everything from pop culture to movie reviews. And we found out that most of our viewers really enjoyed the conspiracy stuff a lot more than that. So we totally rebranded, and now we're Black Lotus Productions, and things are going very well.
And that's how we ended up coming across you, was movie reviews.
Yeah.
Coming across me. Because I am, of course, not really an agent of the Men in Black, and I'm really glad to take those sunglasses off. Now I can see your guys' beautiful faces. How's it going, Ralph? How's it going, Damien? Thank you guys so much for coming on the channel. I really appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing over on Black Lotus. Not a lot of people know this about me because, just because of the way that YouTube is, you don't get to talk about all of your different interests. I do have a lot of interest in like conspiracy theories and alien abductions and all that type of stuff. So when I heard that I had the opportunity to have you guys on the channel, and I thought that maybe we could cover some alien movies, and that was really exciting for me because I am into that alien abduction stuff and even a little bit of the kind of more like Illuminati side of it and stuff like that. I don't necessarily believe in all of it, but I do think it's very fun to research that type of stuff. So
it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us on.
So yeah, guys, that would be really amazing if we could just hear a little bit about, I know that we don't have much time, but you guys have both personally had, I think, some type of experience with aliens before, right? So just real quick, if we could just get like a couple of seconds of each of your stories on that type of thing. Not that we have time to go into it in depth, and then we'll get into these lists, but did want to just cover that quickly.
Well, I've seen a couple of UFOs myself, a couple of strange appearances. We've seen UFO together just recently with him and his wife and I.
Yeah.
And I know you've had a few experiences. Really, we actually just put a whole show together talking about all our experiences on our channel.
Yeah.
So if interested, you can actually listen to full in-depth stories of the odd things we've seen.
Yeah, nice.
I was just mentioning to Ralph today, we have seen some weird stuff. We really have, between the two of us. I mean, we could write a book, I think.
Yeah, well, there's might be an opportunity for me to come on your channel sometime, guys. I haven't seen any aliens, but me and my girlfriend did definitely see a ghost. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. When we were in Belgium. I don't really have the time to talk about it right now because we're doing this awesome alien movies list. But sometime in the future, if you boys want to have me on your channel to discuss that, I'd be more than happy to do that. So.
That'd be awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, guys, okay, so let's get right into the list here. We are doing not necessarily the best, but our personal favorite alien movies. So we're going to get 3 movies each here, and we're just going to go through those movies and kind of give you guys a quick summary of kind of what that movie's all about and why we personally love that film. Sound good to you guys?
Sounds
great.
Okay, so I'm going to start us off because it's my channel. And we're going to start with I'm going in, what do you call it? I'm not smart enough to remember the word for when something is chronological order. I'm going in chronological order. 1988, They Live. This is an amazing film. One of John Carpenter's lesser known films. Of course, everybody knows John Carpenter for The Thing, which one of you guys is covering, can't remember who. But anyways, They Live is one of his lesser known films, but one that I really, really enjoy. You've got Roddy Piper in this, Keith David, Meg Ryan. And this is a movie that is about aliens, but it's also kind of, it's got a lot of angles to it. You can approach this film in a lot of different ways. It's a film about ideology. It's a film about the Illuminati. It's a film about aliens wearing human skin. This is a science fiction movie with a lot of depth. And there's really great action in this movie and some pretty good practical effects. But I don't think that that's what people really love this movie for. I think it is actually that ideological thing, right? Where we're talking about like being able to see through the propaganda and the lies and actually realizing what's going on. So yeah, it's a movie about alien invasions, but it's also a movie that you can approach in a lot of different ways, and it's an allegory for a lot of different things. So, what else? I could put the sunglasses back on. There's an opportunity for that. Have you guys seen this movie?
Love this movie.
Yeah,
Love
great
this
movie.
So,
very pertinent for the times, too.
So, in this movie, if you don't got your sunglasses on, you're seeing all of the bullshit. You're seeing the government lies. You're seeing the propaganda up on the billboards. You put on your sunglasses, and now all of a sudden you can see what's really going on. So you see that the billboard of a sexy woman is just saying like breed and consume and all of this type of thing, right? So yeah, I just really loved that ideological element of this movie. Yes, it is a sci-fi movie. Yes, it is an action movie. You have some people getting shot and some explosions and stuff like that, and honestly some good practical effects, but that's not what this movie is all about. And one thing that I just wanted to touch on at the end here, when I watched this movie, I was really thinking a lot about this guy who I think is pretty interesting to listen to, but I think that he's pretty crazy. David Icke, he's got a lot of interesting ideas for sure. And this movie kind of reminded me about some of his philosophy about like aliens hiding in human skin and controlling the world and all that type of thing. Another thing that I wanted to mention about this movie is that it only cost $4 million, because this was back in the day when movies were not I don't know if you guys know this, but movies didn't always cost $100 million. You used to be able to make a pretty good movie with 4 or 5 million, and if you made an extra 10 million off of that, then that was considered a success. So just kind of this movie is a bit of a relic of a bygone era of just really solid idea-driven filmmaking, and that's why I love They Live. What do you guys think about that movie?
Well, first of all, you just to touch on what you were saying about the budget of the movie, John Carpenter, from what I understand, is renowned for keeping things way under budget. In fact, I want to say that I heard that his movie Halloween was done for something like $6 million.
Yeah,
and it was done.
Much. They didn't even build a mask; they just bought one at the dollar store. Yeah.
And I want to say that the whole thing was done inside of a month of shooting. So I mean, he's known to be kind of frugal,
efficient as a filmmaker, right?
Yeah. But Ralph and I both love this movie. I think it's not much with the special effects really or anything like that, but like you said, it's the message that it puts across.
It's a little dated when you look at it, but the message is not at all dated. The message pertains to what is going on in our world right now.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, cool, guys. So that's my first movie. Ralph, what's your first one, buddy?
Well, I think we're going to finish, or go ahead and go on John Carpenter here and go for The Thing.
Nice.
Like you said, The Thing, unbelievable movie. That was in '82 with Kurt Russell. And of course, it's a movie that's based on a 1951 movie called Thing from Another World, which was based off of a book by John Campbell called Who Goes There? Now, when they first made the movie in 1951, they didn't have the budget to do the all different type of creatures that this thing becomes. So they went for one main creature that went around. But John Carpenter wanted to bring out the true story from the book, and he decided to go ahead and do this movie. And he did it with practical effects. And I think that's one of the things that impresses me about this movie the most. It's a movie about an alien that's found underneath the ice in the Antarctic, I believe it is.
Yeah, I believe so.
And it basically takes control of people and possesses them or anything and can copy it. So you never know if you're actually looking at the real person or the alien. And this whole movie has such a feel to it that you're always suspicious, and there's always suspense of who is it, where is it, and the practical effects still stand out pretty well to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it hasn't been that long since I've seen it. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely give it a look. One of the things I thought was cool about the remake of it was that when they did it, they actually used the same method to do the title screen as they did in the 1951 version, which is they took a fish tank and they filled it with smoke and they put the cell that said The Thing behind it, and they put a trash bag over the fish tank and set it on fire.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And another thing that a lot of people don't know about this movie is that most of it was done by Rob Bottin's for the special effects, which he did Total Recall, Seven, and RoboCop. But the dog thing, that's like
working a lot with Paul Verhoeven there. Then that would be like Paul Verhoeven's chosen effects guy. He did Total Recall, RoboCop.
Right. And the dog thing that everybody talks about, that was actually made by Stan Winston, and he was uncredited for that. And I thought that was kind of cool that he helped out in that. So another thing about the thing was that it was actually banned in Finland when it first came out. So I thought that was kind of crazy. They thought it was just too out there and too it
was too
scary,
real.
I guess.
It was too real for them.
Yeah, too real. They were hiding their government secrets.
Yeah.
What's funny is that this really didn't win any awards. It was nominated for Best Special Effects from the Academy of Sci-Fi and Fantasy and Horror, but the only thing it was really notably nominated for was the worst soundtrack for the Razzies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not good. But I think the movie still stands up, and I think it still says a lot. You know, not knowing who you're really talking to and who anybody really is underneath.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be like the kind of subtext of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a fun movie.
Yeah, The Thing is definitely a movie that I personally love. I've even got a review of it up on my channel. Yeah, amazing practical effects and just a story that stays with you. It really grips you. And something that's just become a trope in Hollywood as well since that movie is the whole idea of like not being able to see who you can really trust, and basically anybody who you think is your friend could potentially be your enemy, that type of thing. So yeah, it didn't get the critical reception that it deserves, but I think that it has definitely got that like cult film status now, and it's definitely gotten its credit now. So yeah, Ralph, that's a dope one, man. Definitely one of my favorites. So yeah, Damien, what do you got for us for your first pick, buddy?
Well, first of all, let me say about the thing.
Oh yeah, sorry. I apologize.
No, it's okay. When the original story came out, you got to think about the time when it came out. In America was going through McCarthyism and the communist scare, and everybody thought, oh, well, anybody could be a communist, and I think that story was born out of that. But anyway, for my first movie today, I picked The Signal.
Yeah,
which stars Brenton Thwaites, Olivia Cooke, and Lawrence Fishburne. And the whole time I was watching this movie, I was looking at Brenton Thwaites and thinking, why do I know this guy? And then it popped in my head that he actually starred in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and he played Henry Turner in it. And I hadn't realized that, but in any case, this is a movie. It's a really interesting sci-fi. It's streaming on Netflix right now, and it's about these two kids that end up in a laboratory, and they don't know where they are. They don't know how they got there, and all they know is that they're being experimented on, and their bodies are starting to change. I'm hoping I'm not giving too much away here, but the whole movie is based on their quest to find out where the hell they are and how the hell to get out of there. And honestly, I can't say too much more about the plot line because it would give away the entire movie. But I will say that the acting into this was pretty good. Lawrence Fishburne, probably not one of his better flicks, but he was still pretty outstanding in it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Good movie. If you're interested in Area 51 whatsoever, you got to see this flick.
Sweet.
But yeah,
I agree. It was a really good movie, and the effects were good in it, and it kept you in suspense and kept you watching the movie. You had to keep going and find out what's going on next.
Yeah,
it's not one that I've seen. So is it like is this a new thing that's just come out on Netflix? Is that the?
I think I first watched it maybe 2 months ago, and then Ralph and I just watched it the other night.
Okay, so a pretty recent one then.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet, man. Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm always looking for more new stuff to watch on Netflix. So that sounds like it would be right up my alley. So perfect.
Yeah. Speaking of that, being that you're up in Canada and we're in the States,
yeah.
I noticed that Netflix has a problem. Well, I don't know if it's a problem, but they'll show you stuff that we can't see, and they'll show us that you can't see.
Yeah, man. It's all it's all about the licensing and stuff like that, right? It's yeah, so it's like which studios allow what to be shown where. It's just another way for the government fat cats to stop us from, getting our cultures together and bringing them down. But that's a topic for another episode.
So what's your next one?
I've got Total Recall up next, guys. So that's why I'm really glad that Ralph had brought up my boy Paul Verhoeven. Anyway, this movie stars, of course, the greatest action hero of all time, the man, the myth, the legend, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Definitely one of his best roles. This movie was incredibly expensive. This movie came out in 1990, and it was, when it came out, one of the most expensive movies that has ever been released. This movie cost $65 million, and back in 1990, wow. That's the year that I was born. That was considered like, woo, an expensive movie. Like these days, you've got Marvel movies that are costing like $300 million, and DC pissing away the same on their films. But yeah, so you've got there's a whole crazy sci-fi plot in this movie. There's all this stuff about being able to have your memories uploaded to different things, and the potential of like memories being implanted so you can't trust your own memories, and all of this espionage plot that Arnie ends up getting embroiled in some type of conspiracy on Mars and stuff like that. All that stuff is fine, but that's not what you're here for. With Total Recall, this movie is all about the crazy shit. Okay? There is some crazy shit in this movie. You've got a chick with 3 titties. That's just one thing. You've got a whole part where Arnold Schwarzenegger gets like sucked out into the Martian atmosphere, and he's like, it's amazing. Crazy. It's amazing. Yeah, you guys have seen this one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay, my favorite part of the movie is when Arnold Schwarzenegger is in a fight with that guy Rickard, right? The dude with the bald spot. And then, so they're having this scrap in the elevator, and then Arnie rips the dude's arms off because, like, the elevator, like, cuts his arms and rips his arms off. And then Arnie throws the arms back down, and he says, "See you at the party, Rickard." And that line is just so classic. Like, it just gets me every time. Like, if I was to like load that up on YouTube right now, even out of the context of the film, like I would laugh at that as much as I would laugh at like the funniest comedy movies. So I just find that great. Yeah, definitely just another movie that is, a product of its time, and maybe like, just as the 80s is coming to a close here, it's kind of taking that like 80s action star like the Arnie or the Stallone type, and then kind of merging that with what would be the future, right? Which is like kind of big budget sci-fi movies, like my favorite Star Wars movie, Star Wars Episode 1, the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. So I just think that that's pretty interesting, and yeah, definitely a movie that I enjoy, one you can throw on at the background of a party and just kind of, just let it play and just let the madness unfold on screen. Do you guys know anything about this one? And Damien, I'm so sorry I cut you off last time, dude. I'm not used to having 3 people on the channel, so definitely something that I need to adapt to is like just letting everybody get in there, bit in. And that thing about McCarthyism was definitely a good point, man. So yeah, what do you guys think about this flick?
I'll agree with you that it's probably one of Schwarzenegger's better movies. I think it ranks up there with Terminator. Did you happen to see the remake?
No,
I didn't.
No. God. Yeah, don't. It's pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't measure up against.
I believe you. Yeah. No, I just had no interest in it at all. Like I hate it when they remake movies that like just don't need to be remade. Like even the same thing with RoboCop, right? Like RoboCop is a perfect movie.
Right.
Why do you need? Well, I mean, whatever. What's a perfect movie? But it's what it is. It's RoboCop. So why are you gonna remake that?
Why fix something that's not broken? It would be like remaking Jaws. I just don't do it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's just unnecessary, right? Like, and all this stuff that Disney's doing now too, just like pumping out these remakes and just lining just lining their propaganda machines with cash, just keeping them flush with cash, so that they can,
that's exactly right.
Keep us down and just fulfill all of their Illuminati dreams. So, all their orgies and sacrifices and whatever else.
Now, wasn't it Adrienne Barbeau that was with him?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
The movie, I mean, just for that alone, it's worth watching because she's great too. The two of them together. And like you said, the scene where they get shot out into the Mars atmosphere.
It's absurd,
classic.
Right? It's absurd.
Yeah, I'm surprised they got away with some of the stuff they did back then.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, back then it was really graphic for a movie.
Well, like his eyes are bulging out when he's in the... Yeah.
You couldn't even show 2 titties in a movie back then. And this movie's got 3 titties. My dog's getting a little restless here. I think I might bring her in. Give me a second. She gets upset when she doesn't get the spotlight, eh?
Cute dog, though.
Not getting the spotlight. But yeah, definitely a good flick. Ralphie, you wanna? Is there anything else before we go on to Ralph's next pick?
No, I think you said it all. Total Recall is just one that's a classic. Doesn't need anything redone, and it's a great watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Watch.
We don't need total reboot. We didn't need
it. Well, my next pick, I picked Signs. Now, I understand M. Night Shyamalan is a little hit and miss.
Yeah.
But this one, to me, was great. It's a story about a family that encounters aliens and has to fight some aliens. Is basically what it comes down to. But it's the suspense and the way he did this movie that this is one of the few movies that actually has scared me. This gave me nightmares. This movie bothered me to the point where I didn't watch it again for a while.
Okay, wow.
Because it just creeped me out. And movies don't usually do that. I mean, you guys look at what we talk about on Black Lotus. That stuff doesn't bother me half the time. This movie bothered me, which to me is one of the reasons why I had to pick it as one of my best and favorites. It's got Jacqueline Phoenix, Rory Culkin, and of course Mel Gibson in it. And they do a really good job of acting. They make you feel the pressure and the terror that they're going through when all this is happening. And I appreciated that. And one of my favorite movies is The Birds. And M. Night Shyamalan cited that The Birds and The Night of the Living Dead and Invaders of the Body Snatchers what inspired this whole movie for him. And I can see aspects of all those movies in it, and I have to see why he took this and put it together and go, wow, okay, you scared me. Plain and simple, he scared me. Yeah. It did win some awards. It won 3 awards, including a nomination for sci-fi film from the American Sci-Fi Fantasy and Horror. But it had 33 other nominations, so I guess I'm not the only one that liked this movie. It's one of his highest nominated movies that he's made. And
unlike a movie that everybody hates, which is The Village, you actually get to see the creatures, right? So
right.
You get to see The Village was his worst by far.
No, Lady in the Water is his worst
Happening.
Yes, thank you.
What?
No, Lady in the Water. Yeah.
Oh,
That was awful. Ugh.
don't think I've
Don't
seen
come
that
on my
one.
movie review show and try to fight me about what M. Night Shyamalan's worst is.
Well, how about we'll call it a three-way tie for those three? Jeez,
Okay.
The Village and The Lady in the Water, all horrible. But this
We can
one's
call it
worth
a three-way
watching.
tie. No, he's got good films. Unbreakable is good, and he's in the midst of a comeback as well. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
Unbreakable. And what's the second? Split.
Mhm.
Awesome movie. And of course,
Shattered.
I'm sorry.
Shattered.
Shattered is good too. Yes. But I was going to say Sixth Sense. I'm sorry. I love that movie.
Yeah,
I
man.
know it.
Oh,
was a
speaking of
great
movies
movie,
that
so.
like scared the hell out of people when they were kids. Yep.
Did you see Dead People?
Oh, I saw a lot of them, man, and not just the ones that I saw in Belgium. So
But yeah, so what did you guys think of Signs?
It wasn't that foundational movie to me, to be honest. I don't know if it was just like when this movie came out, or if I just wasn't like kind of appreciating this type of film at the time. Yeah, but it just wasn't one that like really stuck out to me that much. Yeah, Sixth Sense definitely more out of the Shyamalan movies. That was one that like really scared me, especially watching that as a kid. The Shining I probably saw way too early, and that would be another one that like, woo! That one freaks me out. That one is not good for kids. But yeah, Damien, do you got anything on the?
Well,
Signs?
I'm kind of with you on that. Ralph said that it's one of the movies that really scared the hell out of him, and I didn't find it all that scary. Really, I thought the story was kind of interesting, but the one thing I did like about it is that, say what people will about Mel Gibson about his personal life.
Mhm.
Personally, I think he's pretty damn good actor. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything I didn't like, and Signs was no exception. I thought he was really good in it. What's his name? The guy who played his brother in this?
Jacqueline Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Or Joaquin
Yeah,
Phoenix.
yeah. I thought he was really good in it
Right
too,
name,
but,
wrong pronunciation.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was an okay movie, but I wasn't really impressed with it, that much, but yeah.
That's just what's the one thing nice about movies is sometimes it'll get you and sometimes they don't. Everybody has a little different taste.
Yeah. My next movie is one I kind of debated about even bringing this one up because I have a love-hate relationship with it, but it's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay, I've never seen
which
this.
is based on, haven't you? It's based on Douglas Adams' series of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and which I was a huge fan of this series because I love sci-fi and I love humor. So I thought, well, this is going to be great because and when they announced that they were making a movie out of it, I thought, oh wow, how great! I can't wait to go see it.
Are you a Doctor Who guy as well?
No, actually, I'm not. Ralph is. I've never been able to get into that series.
Doctor
I don't
Who
know
super
why.
fan Ralph Torlucci.
But yeah, so I couldn't wait for this to come out, and I was one of the first in line to go see this flick, and I came away from it feeling the same way that I came away from watching World War Z.
Oh.
World War Z is I love that novel, and they put it out, and I was just so sorely disappointed in it. And it's not so much that the movie was bad; either one of these movies were bad. It's just that they weren't the novels at all.
No.
The Hitchhikers was, but it didn't come across very well. You know what I mean? So, as a movie unto itself, if you haven't read the books, you'd probably like the movie. It's funny. The cast is incredible in it. It's all stars. Martin Freeman's Zooey Deschanel, Mos Def, Sam Rockwell, Alan Rickman, and that's just tipping the tip of the iceberg. It's just star-studded. And everybody does a great job in it. And again, it is funny and it comes across like Douglas Adams humor. It's just that I just didn't feel that it portrayed it that well, But yeah, otherwise, again, if you haven't read the books, you'd really enjoy it, I think,
I actually tried to read the books and couldn't get into the books. And I'm a reader. I do read a lot.
Yeah.
So I did try to watch the movie too, and I remember watching it all the way through when I was younger and it first came out and not really appreciating it. So I tried to watch it again recently because I knew you were going to be talking about it. And I got about halfway through and I'm like, I still feel about the same way. It's an okay movie. It doesn't catch my attention.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that may be the case with a lot of people because it's a certain type of humor. It's kind of very, very tongue in cheek, and I think a lot of people just like kind of go, it doesn't fit. You know,
it was almost like a bad version of Spaceballs.
Yeah,
it's just not well done.
Damien, have you speaking of kind of sci-fi comedy and that type of thing, have you ever checked out the show Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency? Because that's based off of another book by the same author, I'm quite certain.
Right. And I never have. I want to say that I saw one episode of it, but but what I saw was good. I just haven't been able to get it back in.
So here's the thing, and I've seen both seasons and I've reviewed both seasons. The first season is great, the second season is crap. So watch the first and then just pretend the story's over.
Okay.
I hate when that happens.
I got to tell you, I love Douglas Adams, but honestly, the Hitchhiker series is the only thing I've read by him. So, yeah.
All right, sweet. Anything else on Hitchhikers?
Not for me.
Not for me. No.
That's it. All right. Dope. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really say much. But I'll check it out. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you, Damien. So I think we're ready to do my last one here. One that I'm really excited to talk about. And if you guys haven't seen this one, I'm really excited to introduce you guys to one that is going to keep you guys up at night. You'll never sleep again. We are talking Under the Skin. So this is a movie that came out in 2013. A bit of an indie film, not one that a lot of people would put in their top 3 sci-fi movies, but definitely a movie that I really enjoy. Not that I rewatch it that often because it really gets in your head and kind of messes with you psychologically, but this is an excellent movie. This is directed by Jonathan Glazer. Not a director that a whole lot of people have heard about, but he did make a pretty excellent film here. This is based on a book by Michael Faber. The reason why I bring that up, it's kind of interesting. This book was set in the Scottish Highlands, and that's actually something that they remained faithful to in this movie, is that this movie was shot in the Scottish Highlands, and it actually stars a lot of actors from the Scottish Highlands. So whatever there was that was so creepy about that area that inspired this writer to write this horrific piece of fiction is also being utilized to bring this film to life. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I really appreciate it when filmmakers go the extra mile and they actually do some on-location shooting and that type of thing. Like, definitely something that I respect. This movie, of course, stars the beautiful Scarlett Johansson, but she is in a role here that is very creepy, very unsettling. She's not really cast here entirely because she is so sexy. She's kind of cast here because she's like so aloof and stuff like that. But definitely, the sexiness is, of course, a factor, but it all feeds into the story, and it all definitely works. Got to get my dog back up here again. Sorry, boys. So, the other really interesting thing about this movie is this movie was shot with hidden cameras. A lot of the scenes in this movie are shot with hidden cameras, and then the people who are in those scenes actually signed releases after the scene itself was shot, so they didn't know that they were going to be in a movie until after the scene was shot. So you have Scarlett Johansson driving around and communicating with these guys, picking them up, and they don't know that they're in the movie, so that definitely adds an element of realness. And yeah, it just like the movie says, it will get under your skin. There are very little effects in this movie. Again, a lot of this movie is just left up to your imagination. You have to kind of piece it together yourself. Most of the effects that are in this movie are practical effects. Something that's very interesting that I found out when I was researching this film is those of you who have seen it, that whole scene where, well, it actually repeats a lot throughout the film, where Scarlett Johansson will take one of her like captive men and she brings them into this kind of like weird other dimension or something like that, and they sink into the water and it's all black and then they kind of disappear. So The way that was actually done, it was done on a soundstage. They blacked out all of the windows, and they actually had a pool in there with these platforms that could like raise and lower. So yeah, just going something that I'm always emphasizing is that I love it when filmmakers go the extra mile again and implement some practical effects rather than just doing everything digital. I kind of hate it when directors and studios just get a bit lazy, I feel, and just go the CGI route. Another thing this movie has, very, very simple, very repetitive, yet very effective music. The music definitely pulls you into this movie. It grips you in the same way that Scarlett Johansson is kind of putting her captives under a spell. The music in this film is putting you as the audience member participating, watching this movie under a spell. So yeah, definitely some very effective music in this, and something that definitely contributes to how this movie can haunt your dreams and keep you up at night. The other thing is that this movie is the master, like the director of this movie is the master of show not tell. There is not any scene of exposition in this movie. There is not any situation where someone sits down and they say, oh yeah, this Scarlett Johansson, she's going around and she's collecting people and she's putting them in another dimension, and that's crazy. It's not anything like that. It's just like all there. She's going around picking people up. There's this weird pool thing. They disappear, and you have to put the rest of it together yourself. And that's something that was like really unsettling to me. And once you like actually figure out what's going on, it's really going to creep you out. And her whole like aloofness and just how this whole alien kind of thing is presented here, it's very, very creepy. And a movie that I very highly recommend, but be warned, this movie is really creepy, and it might give you some nightmares. Have you guys seen this one?
Yeah, we watched it the other night because
nice.
you had so highly recommended it.
Nice.
Don't congratulate us so quick.
What's that?
Don't congratulate us so quick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, here's the thing.
This is one of
I'm
those
glad
weird movies.
Yeah, it is. It is weird, but I have an appreciation for experimental movies, and that's pretty much what this was. It's very experimental. I'd actually like to read the book because the movie. I'm glad you told us what you liked about it so much, because the whole time I was watching this, I'm thinking, what did he like so much about this? But it makes sense now that what you liked about it. But honestly, the movie kind of lost my interest about 20 minutes in, and I just thought it was very repetitive. I liked Scarlett Johansson in it. I thought she was good. I think it's interesting that they did this with hidden cameras. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I think that now that I think back on the movie, I can see how that happened. And I think you're right. It added an element of realism to it.
Absolutely.
But overall, I just thought the plot was just slow moving and there isn't even any dialogue, I swear, for the first 10, 15 minutes, no dialogue at all, which again, it's an experimental movie kind of thing. I mean, I could see why he would do that, but honestly, it just kind of bored me overall.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I have to agree with him on this one.
It's okay.
Sorry, but it was a movie that I wouldn't watch again. It reminded me of the art house films that came out in like the late 80s, early 90s, that there was a ton of people doing this type of film. And I've watched a gazillion of them, and I just felt like I was watching another one of those. And I could probably have done that movie and condensed it and cut it into probably about a 25-minute short film. And then maybe it would have been good, and I might have enjoyed it better. But the length it took between something happening and there being nothing but driving around or no action whatsoever was way long in between to keep my interest.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching it, though. That's awesome.
Oh. No, of course, if I wanted to watch anything that I hadn't watched yet, except for I got through everything except for one, because I wanted to know what I was talking about or what we would be talking about. And I'm not sorry I watched it. It'll make me appreciate better movies otherwise.
That's sick.
But I have to say, Jared, we watch your show pretty regularly, and when you are talking about a movie that I haven't seen yet, I jump on it immediately. I do respect your opinion. I just don't share it with this particular movie.
I've got
you know?
kind of a weird taste in film sometimes, guys. Like there's movies that like some of my favorite movies are absolutely movies that other people think are what you guys said, boring, not a lot happening, very like overly artsy and stuff like that. A lot of films that are done by the studio A24, like The Witch, like Killing of a Sacred Deer, those types of movies.
I like some of those. I mean, one of my favorite films that I think is one of the weirder films is Edward Scissorhands. I was going to say Eraserhead.
Eraserhead.
Yeah. You know, that's a long film. Nothing really happens for long periods of time. There's a lot of very strange stuff, but it made me feel. This movie, to me, the only thing I felt was when the black pool, that I thought that whole thing was shot excellently, and I felt her power. I felt her hypnotizing. I felt the whole scene when they're going into the water and the guys are, you know, disappearing and stuff. I understood all that. If the rest of the movie had fit into that a little bit better, I think I could have really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
Interesting, guys.
But not to go on a tangent here, but you had brought up The Witch.
Yeah.
And I saw The Witch. The Witch. Yeah, I saw it a while back, and I really didn't like it. And I think it was because I had a hard time listening to it because everything is spoken in like old Pilgrim English.
Yes.
And so you had mentioned that it's one of your favorite horror films. I went, wow, really? Yeah. All right, so I made myself watch it again the other night. But what I did is I turned on the closed captioning.
Yeah.
And totally made sense now.
Oh, okay.
And it totally made sense. But as far as like one of the better horror movies out there, I don't feel that it really became a horror until the last 20 minutes of the film. The rest of it was good, but it was a good drama.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last 20 minutes, it becomes a horror. And it was like, okay, I can kind of see what he sees in the movie now. You know?
But I haven't seen this one. Sorry.
It's okay, man. Go check it out. It's another one of those, definitely falls on that weird movies. And that's a perfectly fine tangent because it allows me to basically hype another video that I'm going to be doing, which is all about one of my favorite studios, which is A24. That's the studio that did do The Witch and quite a lot of other more like artsier kind of horror movies. It Comes at Night, some other movies like that. So yeah, guys.
What movie do you have? What's your last one?
Yeah, what do you got?
Okay, for my last movie pick, I have a classic that is probably my all-time favorite alien movie, Enemy Mine.
Oh yes, great. Yes, I love this movie.
Yeah, when I had found out you had seen this, I was very happy that you had seen it and you had enjoyed it.
I love it.
It's from 1985. Now, I will warn people, it's a little dated. Well, first off, it's got Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. in it. And the movie is a little dated in the special effects department. When the very beginning scene, when they're having the air battle before the aliens become stranded, I think we could have probably shot it on our green screen and got just about as good results. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the directors real quick because the original director was Richard Lecraine, excuse me, and he shot. We were talking about budgets. He shot $17 million worth of footage that all got scrapped. Oh, it was mostly of Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr., but all the sets and everything he did, $17 million, and he was fired because he was doing a horrible job.
Wow.
So I thought that was interesting that they would scrap it that easily.
Especially that much money is worth.
Well, I mean, 1985, that's a lot of money back then. Yeah. You know, he was talking about movies were being made for nothing. That movie ended up, this movie, Enemy Mine, ended up costing $40 million. Which back then is a huge budget.
Yeah, that wasn't chump change back then.
That's a lot of money.
No. But, it was worth it.
I think so.
The feelings you get when you watch this movie, it's you start watching it and you think you're going to be watching one type of movie.
Yeah.
And it turns into another type of movie that turns into another type of movie. And it's moving, it's action, it's suspense, there's twists and turns in it that you don't expect. This movie to me stood up probably better than many of the movies that I've seen from the 80s.
Yeah.
I think it really, really stood up.
I think so.
Now, one of the things that stands out about the movie, too, of course, is the acting of the alien.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did an incredible job. He made up that language is Russian backwards mostly, and he made up the sounds. Yeah, and he made up the sounds, the gurgling sound that he does when he talks. When he was a kid, he would get saliva and gather it in his throat and talk through the saliva. And that was a little trait he had. So he started doing that and told the director, I think I should use this as the voice. And he created. So none of that was done with special effects. That was all him really doing that.
Just a gross thing he used to do being a gross little kid, eh?
Yep. And that's what made the whole talking and him seem so authentic, though, right. I think.
Yeah, it does.
That and the makeup.
It does seem very real, like that whole alien and the way that it is, like the way that it talks, the way that it presents itself, like that language, it seems incredibly real as well. So when you're telling me that it's like Russian backwards, that makes a lot of sense because it doesn't sound like just garbage, like a lot of kind of alien movies, they go that route and it's just like completely ridiculous. So like that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a language, not a real one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this one, I agree, sounded very authentic. And the makeup, like I said, really helps. That was done by Chris Wallace, who did Gremlins and did the Jeff Goldblum version of The Fly. He did the makeup for Enemy Mine.
Nice.
And again, the creature construction for back then, this was incredible. It almost stands out perfectly today. It still has a great makeup design.
I think it stands up very well. Yeah, the effects are great. And that's the nice thing about always talking about them practical effects, right? Is that they don't really age as much as like digital effects. If you look at like the digital effects in movies from the early 90s, it looks like complete trash now. But if you go back and watch some of these movies from the late 80s, you're like, okay, this holds up. And it's just that like use of practical effects. I mean, if something was real at that time, it's still real and on screen and in camera years later. So
yeah,
I'm glad practical effects are making somewhat of a comeback. There's more movies using them and just editing a little bits and pieces with the CGI, and that to me is a lot better. Even when we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan, in Signs, all those crop circles were real. He does not like CGI, so he doesn't use CGI a lot in his movie.
True.
So I think that's interesting that it's making a comeback now, especially in this digital age.
Yeah. I agree with you about the acting, especially by Louis Gossett Jr. I thought he was phenomenal. And Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid's a great actor, I think. But Louis Gossett Jr. to be able to act that well under all that makeup kind of blew my mind. Now, that being said, I don't think anybody else in the movie was that great of an actor.
I thought the kid was good for his age.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was okay. But yeah,
he actually got nominated for in the Children's Acting Awards.
Yeah. Did he really?
Yeah.
Kids in movies annoy me a lot, and I liked this kid. So.
Yeah. But I think beyond the acting, I think the reason that this movie holds up, it's kind of like John Carpenter's They Live. It's all about the message that's coming across. Because if you think about it, it crosses boundaries about homosexuality. It crosses boundaries about racial tensions, and so religion as well. Absolutely. So I think that's why this movie holds up as well as it does. The special effects be damned. The makeup was good, but that be damned as well. The acting by Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is, like in They Live, it was the message that they're trying to convey.
Yeah.
It's written very well.
Well, and like for me with Enemy Mine here, this movie was so interesting because you have them like our protagonist and then that like main alien character going through like so many different trials and all of this like different tribulations that is happening to them, right? And through that they experience so much, and you learn so much about like the human capacity for empathy, and yeah, just like that they're able to overcome those. And when it comes right down to it, like once he sees that that creature just like him wants to have a child, wants to protect its child, and you know, you really start to think like, okay, this is really breaking new ground here, this film. Like this isn't just another science fiction movie, right? And then of course you have like one of the most interesting elements of this movie for me is near the end, and I guess this is kind of a spoiler, there's a few spoilers in this, but how you have, once the kind of main tension of the movie is over, that like now the protagonist has really gotten invested in this whole alien world and that civilization, and then when he is returned to his old civilization, he's like, whoa, I have no interest in this, like get me to my son, right?
Yeah.
So it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
It's definitely almost a hallmark movie of alien movies.
Right.
It really is.
A little bit.
It's a
Yeah,
crazy
if
movie.
anybody has not seen this movie, it's a must see.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah,
is. I would
definitely.
totally agree that this is a must see, and definitely like a sleeper movie that, like, you know, it's not one of the, again, not one of those movies that would be making a lot of top 5 lists, a lot of top 10 lists online. But for me, yeah, definitely as far as like a sci-fi movie with a lot more going on, a lot more of a message, Enemy Mine is for sure up there. So, and thank you so much for picking that one, dude. That's awesome.
Oh, no problem, because that was the first one. You said, you know, let's do alien movies. That's the first one that came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, it's. I don't even think I can't even consider it an alien movie. It's not a movie about aliens. It's a movie about life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
About us, say the truth.
Yeah.
And I think it, like we've been talking about, the message there is what it's about, not aliens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the last movie,
Yeah.
did you want to go ahead and go on?
No, go drum roll.
Oh. So for the last movie, my last movie, I didn't pick a fictional movie, but
Yeah,
then again,
cool.
that depends on your version of fiction, I suppose.
Mhm.
But anyway, so this is a documentary, and again, it's currently streaming on Netflix, and
Yeah.
it has been for a while. And it is possibly the best. Now, I've watched a lot of documentaries about aliens and UFOs and government cover-ups and so on and so forth. A lot of these documentaries. This is by far the best one out there. And it is called Unacknowledged. And it's hosted by Dr. Stephen M. Greer. And he is one of the founders of the Disclosure Project, which is a project where they're trying to get the government to disclose the information that they're obviously hiding back. You know, with the Freedom of Information Act out there, you can get hold of the information that they gathered with, say, Project Blue Book, but most of it is redacted. You know, I mean, so you can request something that happened. I don't know. Let's say with the Barney and Betty Hill case, you can request that from the government, but what you're going to get is
Black
the
piece
sheets
of
of paper that are just basically, the whole thing's black. You know, I mean, with regard to several words here and there, it's ridiculous how the government is treating people when with this Freedom of Information Act. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, it's for security reasons, national security.
Yeah, okay, but
They're keeping us safe, Damien.
you know,
Your government is keeping you. Your government is keeping you safe. Your government has your best interest at heart, Damien. I don't know why you can't realize that. No.
But you know, I mean, I realize I'm putting on my tinfoil hat here, but I think that what the government is doing by covering up the alien investigations and UFO investigations is just it's pathetic how they think of the American public, that, you know, we couldn't handle the information. But I think it goes beyond that. I think it's more that they don't want to hand out that information because they want to protect it for themselves. You know, so, but in any case, if you have not seen this documentary and you're interested in UFOs or aliens at all, you've got to watch this. And
Cool,
the main reason for this is because you hear all about alien or UFO encounters from people that, not, I don't mean to stereotype but you hear about, well, me and Bubba was out fishing one day and we saw this weird looking thing come down. But that's not what this is. This is all people in authority, like senators.
Yeah.
Like the Prime Minister of Canada, in fact, he's on there talking about it. You're talking about astronauts and pilots and
reliable sources,
military people, reliable sources, and that's this entire movie is based on those accounts. And so most definitely you gotta watch this flick.
Okay, cool. That's awesome, man. I've seen that one come up on Netflix when I'm kind of scrolling around. I've never actually went ahead and watched it. As you said, there's a lot of that type of stuff out there and these kind of like documentary alien things, and a lot of them aren't very good. A lot of the kind of alien content that I like usually comes in the form of like podcasts or YouTube series like Black Lotus, or in the podcast case, something like Last Podcast on the Left, for instance. But definitely looking for something in that Netflix, sit down and watch a couple, maybe 45 minutes of good alien documentary. So I would definitely love to check it out, man. And that seems like this is kind of the nature of that type of thing. So
no, I haven't had a chance to see this one yet. I actually do have it on my list and I'm looking forward to watching it. But due to time restraints and me falling asleep at, you say, like 8 o'clock, keeps me from watching everything I want to watch sometimes. But yes, it's definitely on my list of ones I do want to watch. I like that type of stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was a really great list, guys. I think that we nailed a lot of the most classic alien movies that are out there. I think when it comes to this list, we came out with some definite surprises here. I think there's some very quality movies on here that people wouldn't have expected to be on this type of video. So kudos to you guys for coming up with all of that great content and all of those great movies, and definitely bringing some of your favorites and some of my personal favorites to the show. So I really appreciate that. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to cover before we any final thoughts before we wrap up here a little bit?
Well, I just want to say thank you again for allowing us to do this. I really appreciate it. We're a relatively new video cast on YouTube, and I appreciate somebody who's seasoned inviting us on your show. And most definitely, let's get him on with us.
Yeah, we definitely have to talk ghosts with you. Do crossover genres here.
Yeah, yeah, that would be sweet. Guys, honestly, it is a true honor to have both of you gentlemen on my show. I've been following you guys ever since the Pop Views days. I did go in and listen to some of the podcasts that you guys have even guest starred on. You guys are out here, you guys are making good content. And as much as I can put the glasses on and start talking about how you need to trust the government and how, there's nothing suspicious about the Kennedy assassination. It's, but honestly, I consider you guys culture warriors. I think that you guys are fighting the good fight out there. And to me, Black Lotus represents open-mindedness and, just not accepting the commonly accepted view and being willing to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more open-minded. So I respect you guys a lot, and I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Honestly, thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you.
And to all of my subscribers out there, thank you guys so much for watching this video. For the comments on this video, please go ahead and let me know what are some of your personal favorite alien movies. Other than that, make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more crazy content like this. As always, I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time.